Welcome to the Friday edition of The Pulse here on the Joy News channel. Remember, we are your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace. Coming up on this afternoon, OSP expresses concern over top elected officials involved in government's commercial transactions as he establishes that John Mahama was actively involved in the Airbus scandal with his younger brother.
Such close proximity dealings by such elected high officials of the Republic and their kin and close associates on behalf of the Republic should neither be viewed favorably nor encouraged, as they give rise to reasonable suspicion of influence peddling and conflict of interest.
We'll hear from the former Auditor General Daniel Yao Domilovo's perspective on this particular matter. Now, in health, children with hemophilia in Ashanti region left bedridden due to a 3-month delay in the delivery of blood clotting component.
Can't undergo the surgery. For about 3 months, we don't have the medication. It is hard to watch on as they bleed.
We have details plus dialysis unit at Kolebu Teaching Hospital shuts down for nearly 2 weeks with no clear explanation from the hospital, leaving patient urgently calling for assistance.
We demand that the colleges of education should be closed and students.
And later in the bulletin, group of teacher trainees in the Ashanti region calling for a temporary closure of the 46 colleges of education across the country due to the ongoing strike by their teachers.
We demand that the colleges of education should be closed and students be allowed to return home, since it has been more than 21 days without students engaging with their tutors.
Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu, affordable, safe sanitation for all. And this show is live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 125, around the world on myjoyonline.com. Thank you so much for sharing your afternoon with us. Stay for details. The Special Prosecutor has raised concerns over the meddling of high elected officials in government's commercial transactions. According to Kisi Ejabeng, involving them in commercial transactions could expose them to potential corruption activities. Now, his comment follows his office's investigations revealing that former President John Mahama actively engaged in the negotiation of the Airbus deal. Now, he observed that the NDC government ignored the familiarity between John Mahama and his brother Samuel Adam Mahama, raising suspicion of conflict of interest.
Processes leading to the purchase by the government of Ghana of 3 C-295 twin turboprop military transport aircraft from Airbus followed substantially the same pattern. Parliament approved the proposed transactions in 2011. In accordance with the laws of Ghana, in the estimation of the OSP, there was nothing remarkable about the deal, and it certainly would not have found its way in the UK and US deferred prosecution agreements and made headlines around the world, but for the involvement of former President John Dramani Mahama and his younger brother of the full blood, Samuel Adam Foster, also known as Samuel Adam Mahama, and his associates, as recounted in the UK and US deferred prosecution agreements. The OSP investigation found no evidence that former President Mahama was involved or played any role in the procurement and maintenance of the agency relationship between Airbus and Foster and his associates in respect of the purchase by the government of Ghana of military transport aircraft from Airbus. And it appears to the OSP that the direct communications and meetings between former President Mahama and officials of Airbus to close the deal were actuated by good intentions on the part of the former president. It also appears that Foster and his associates became involved as intermediaries in the Airbus Ghana deal after the decision by the government of Ghana in preference of the C-295 aircraft. Therefore, it seems that Foster's Airbus intermediary role at the time his brother served as the Vice President of Ghana was a case of luckless coincidence that attracted the disapproval of the UK and US authorities. The OSP found no evidence that suggests that the involvement of Foster as an intermediary of Airbus and the direct communications and meetings between former President Mahama and officials of Airbus to close the deal between Airbus and the government of Ghana amounted to any corruption and corruption-related offense in respect of which the OSP has a mandate. However, it ought reasonably to have occurred to former President Mahama and the government of Ghana that the familiar relationship between former President Mahama and Foster and the direct participation by former President Mahama in the communications and meetings with Airbus officials were bound to raise reasonable suspicions of improper conduct and dealings, notwithstanding any claims to good faith conduct and above-board dealings, especially in light of the fact that during the first Airbus campaign, former President Mahama was a chairman of the Armed Forces Council by reason of his position as a vice president, and therefore a very key decision maker. Such close proximity dealings by such elected high officials of the Republic and their kin and close associates on behalf of the Republic should neither be viewed favorably nor encouraged.
So that was the OSP Kisi Ejabing. Then former Auditor General Daniel Yao Domelevo is joining us via Zoom. Law lecturer of the School of Law, SOAS University, London. Dr. Nuhu Yidana is also joining us via Zoom. Gentlemen, I'm grateful to you for joining us. Let me start with you, Mr. Daniel Yao Domelevo. I mean, you are known for the fight against corruption. First off, what's your thought on this particular work by the OSP?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Let me say that I am full of commendations for the OSP for the work he has done. I've read his report, and when I was in office as Auditor General, I discharged my duties to the best of my ability with good intention, and I believe the same has been done by the OSP. It's true that people may not be happy with his conclusion or his finding or his position, but well, he said he doesn't have the evidence. And if someone has the evidence, I think the person can bring it up and go to the Attorney General for it to be taken up from another angle. But I think this is a good work done. And I cannot agree more with the OSP as far as the type of intermediary role that we play when we are in public office. We try not to isolate our public offices from our personal relationships. Whereas it may not sound to any Ghanaian as an issue. On international ground, it is serious. For instance, there is no way that my son or my nephew or my uncle, etc., can join the World Bank when I am there. But in Ghana, you hear that the man and the wife or the cousin or the nephew, etc., they are all in the same office, and Ghanaians think there is no problem with that. The only sad thing to me is that when I was in office, before leaving office in 2021, there has been Public Office Holders Accountability and Asset Declaration Act, which will have addressed all these issues of conflict of interest and how public officers should behave. That will have been very helpful, but the law is still sitting on the table of the president. So I do not have anything against the OSP's finding. I may have to commend him for the work he has done. Thank you.
But from what is available, you could see, some sort of relationship between the brother being playing a sort of a consultancy role for Airbus and the former president when he was vice president, and so he was involved in this. Shouldn't we be worried about that particular relationship at that point in time?
That is worrying internationally. But in Ghana, it seems to be acceptable. That is what we sought to address under this Public Office Holders Accountability and Asset Declaration Bill, which will have addressed that. I hope you are aware that people are board chairmen and their wives are in the, in fact, you go to government institutions, the board chairman or board members have their wives and children in their organization. You go to even the office of the president, you will find relatives of the president right in front of him. All these are conflicts which should not be allowed. So it is good we come out with a law so that in this case, what Kisi Ejabin will have been telling us that contrary to this law, Mr. Mahama engaged himself. If there is no law at the moment, then I am constrained to fault him for doing that, except under Article 284, which says that public officers should not put themselves in a position where their personal interests may conflict with the doing of their job. But that is what he's saying, that it may be only a perception, but he has not conflicted. And I would like to take his professional judgment from that.
Okay. Let me bring in Dr. Yidana on this point. Doc, so, I mean, we don't have a law that regulates conflict of interest, whether you could be a public officer and have your wife or your relatives be in the same office. How is the practice in the UK and internationally like?
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to your good listeners. And indeed, I think from the OSP submissions, we can see clearly that there isn't any law that specifically deals with issues pertaining to having relatives, working with you. And by virtue of that, that is a clear indication of a huge gap that we have in our regulatory architecture.
Okay.
And as a result, I think it's the time, and quite recently, I understand, it appears there are some members of parliament who are trying to push in a private member bill to deal with issues relating to purchase of government properties. And the reason is and indeed in the explanation they presented, they sought to actually include family relations should not also even be seen to buy government properties. And it's a clear point that we have a huge gap in our legal architecture. And as a result, we need to actually, Parliament need to actually, take action on this particular, it's a call to Parliament to take action on this ground, to actually ensure that, such laws are instituted, or we have laws in place to actually prevent or make it a prohibitive, in other words, make it illegal for you to have relatives directly engaging or dealing with you while you are holding a public office. Likewise, awarding them contracts. So that way we'll be able to actually deal with the issues. So coming into the UK, we have as the OSP sought to actually reason that he foresee that because of the family relations, that is why the court sought to actually found that no, there was some kind of corrupt deals between in the case of Adam Foster and the former president. But interestingly, you will see from the Crown Court ruling clearly that they were pointing out of even internal malfeasance within Airbus itself. That actually sought to point out that there were some kind of compromises that went on between even the officials themselves. So that is why they were sanctioned in terms of being asked to make, that's when they actually agreed upon reporting themselves. Indeed, from their own investigation, they realized that there were irregularities within their own structure.
Okay.
So that was one, and by virtue of the UK law, they are supposed to actually report to the Serious Fraud Office about their dealings relating to international transactions. And when they got to realize that, then they have to now report. And interestingly, at the time of reporting, they came to actually also appreciate the fact that once they've reported, then the matter needs to be taken up, further. And that was when the investigation was triggered to, expose the various deals. So I think that there's a gap in our law in Ghana. If not, OSP would have actually found that, yes, there's conflict of interest And by virtue of that conflict of interest, such transactions were improper. But because we don't have laws currently dealing with that, that is why his hands are tied. So he cannot actually go beyond that level, given the fact that there's no law dealing with that. Yeah, thank you.
But if you look at the facts as presented, when they say, I mean, this Adams Muhammad, as we know, official 5, didn't have any experience in aviation. He was brought on board as a consultant between 2009 and 2015. And we also got our aircraft 2011, 2012, 2015. When there is that relationship between him and that government official 1 who could really get things done, shouldn't that really, be a source of worry to all of us here, even though there's no law that explicitly deals with that?
Thank you so much. I think that's what, when Daniel was speaking, he actually, our former Auditor General, and when he was speaking, he did point out that it's really, an improper thing. But then there's no law in Ghana currently dealing with, rendering it an improper conduct. So because we don't have a law dealing with it as an improper conduct, you see that even, all our, if you flash back, most of our government have had those dealings. And in fact, they are still ongoing. And there's no point where we are going to stop until we have a law actually making it a criminal or an offense. Until that is done, you see that will continue to actually flourish. Okay,
quite interesting there. So does it mean that in the context of the UK, former President Mahama and his brother could have had a case to answer?
Okay, so looking at the what was being dealt with by the court was in relation to the conduct of Airbus itself.
Okay.
Not necessarily the various individuals involved. So the various individuals involved did not come into the limelight, but they only acted as, they were seen as the parties who were like the intermediaries or agents that Airbus dealt with in an improper way on the part of Airbus. So the court had issues with Airbus conduct, and that was why they were to prosecute them, and they entered into agreement per the amendment that was introduced into the Crimes and Court Act in 2013, where they now have the option of going into deferred prosecution agreement. And that was exactly what Airbus actually agreed on in paying the penalties so that they don't get prosecuted.
And that point was really stated by the OSP as well in terms of, what the Airbus accepting culpability on behalf of all of those mentioned there. But let me bring in Daniel Yaodomlevo here. So you, during your time, and everybody refers to your time because there were a lot of surcharges and all of that, during the auditing processes, how widespread was this, where you see influence peddling because someone knows someone on top of a certain board or somewhere that could move some eyes and dots for him or her?
Well, it was widespread. It was very serious. And one which I can easily show you was when I had problems or challenges with Mr. Osafumafu, senior minister at the time. You notice that the board chairman, Duajiman, was a staff in the office of the senior minister. So he was representing the senior minister at the court when we were in court. Can you imagine the Auditor General has surcharged someone, and that person's employee, who is the board chairman of the Auditor General's office, is representing the person who was surcharged at the other end. So it is there. And I was worried that even the Supreme Court did not find anything wrong with it when he stood up to say he's representing Honorable Safumafu. And say, are you not the board chairman of Audit Service? I thought you should be there accompanying the Auditor General. He was rather accompanying Honorable Safumafu. So this influence peddling is very serious. I remember there was a point in time where National Health Insurance went to his office to go and petition him that the audit which was being done by the staff was biting. So he called me to see how he could intervene. I said he should back off. He issued a memo to the board to say that it is their duty. And I said, no, the board has no mandate to supervise audit. So I was not going to obey them. So that influence peddling is very serious, and that is what started the dispute between myself and the board of Audit Service, because they thought once they are in there, they can decide who should be audited, who should be surcharged, who should not be surcharged, etc. And I will not take any of that. So we need, that's why I was very happy when I saw the bill on public office conduct, public office holders' conduct and asset declaration. It addresses a lot of these issues. But that bill, which was there, I remember Gloria Kufu sent it to my office for my comments in 2017. Up to today, it is still on the president's table. It has not been actioned upon. So like Dr. Idana was saying, that there's a gap. The gap is being filled by the executive. The presidency is sitting on that bill for so many years now. If that bill had been passed, we would have seen clearly that this conduct is unlawful and it would have been appropriately addressed. But we don't have a law, so we leave it like that.
If you are assigning, I mean, how Ghana, people say Ghana is underdeveloped. If you are looking at the obstacles to Ghana's development, where will you place influence peddling and what we are talking about in terms of how it has helped in where Ghana is today?
Oh yes, influence peddling fuels corruption. It brings about a lot of corrupt activities. It brings about people not doing what is expected of them, and then we activate this mechanism we call jantua. You run to someone to go and intervene. At times you are in office and you are told a group of chiefs and elders are looking for you. They come in and they tell you that we heard that you are going to set charge. Mr. Susu and so is one of our people. He's the eye of our place. If you hold him accountable, it will be a disincentive to the young ones who are coming up. Because of that, at the end of the day, there's a huge element of corruption. If all these things are eliminated, it doesn't give, it gives an even playing ground. Anyone who crosses the line is held accountable, and it helps developing the country because resources are going to be used judiciously for the intended purpose. Instead of saying, as for John, let him go because he's my brother. Or as for Moses, you can hold him accountable. So that is why I come back to the same situation, that this has been identified long ago, and a bill has been prepared. And President Akufo-Addo is sitting on that bill. If that bill were to be passed, it will help not only this case, but several other cases. In fact, issues of conflict of interest and interest peddling are so much in the public sector today that you hear a minister has passed it on to his family family is doing this and that and that. You see the daughter of the president is being named in a lot of scandals and etc. Because of that, they don't want to pass the bill. That bill must be passed so that we have a way of running public sector. I say that Ghanaians are people who always like to play the game, but they don't want to obey the rules of the game. This is not how we manage public sector. We don't manage public sector like your family affair. So we must get that gap, which Dr. Yinani is talking about. We must fill that gap as soon as possible. Thank you.
Okay. So I mean, you say that that bill should be passed. Is it that the president should assent to it, or it has to move from the presidency to
Parliament? It has not even gone to Parliament.
Okay.
It is now before Cabinet. Cabinet has to give an approval. I remember recently, Occupy Ghana even wrote to the secretary to the Cabinet to find out the status, and they shared the response with me that it has been sent to the Minister of Finance for their comments. And I said, this was done years ago, and we are repeating. We are just going around all this time. So it has not even reached Parliament before it will be passed. Okay. And become a bill which we need assent into. It has not gone there.
And name of this bill again?
It is, I don't remember the name properly, but it's like Public Office Holders Accountability and Asset Declaration Act.
Okay.
It covers declaration and bribe taking, gifts and whatnot, all those conflict of interest, who you can employ, etc. They are all addressed in there, including publication of assets. You know, the asset declaration, currently we don't publish it. That law requires that it must be verified and published. And so they don't like it. So that bill is put under the carpet. It has been there for all this while. Since 2017, I saw it the first time.
Let's imagine you were the Auditor General auditing such a transaction in which you see that the brother of the Vice President then becomes a president is involved in this transaction. What would be your recommendation as the Auditor General?
I will only lament the way the OSP is lamenting. There's nothing else you can do. Because remember, the only time I can hold you accountable is if when you breach a law. If I'm not aware of a law which you are in breach of, I can only lament that is not a good practice. But then my views are as good as yours.
Okay. All right, so that's Daniel Yao Demilovo. He is a former Auditor General of the state. So let me bring you in, Dr. Yidana. So if you look at this particular matter, what would be your recommendation to the country going forward?
Yeah, thank you so much once again. I think the recommendation will be simply we actually having a law in place. I mean, making it an offense for you to actually involve direct family relations in relation to such contractual dealings, because the amount involved is huge. It's a big burden to the Ghanaian, society or the Ghanaian community. And again, not only that, we should extend it wide so that at least it covers all other aspects of public sector, management activities.
Okay.
That way, we will, scale down the extent to which the corrupt dealings are actually, go on. And indeed, when it comes to family relations and they even take such contracts and fail to deliver, it's difficult to prosecute them. It's difficult to actually take actions against them. So we will need to actually have the proper laws in place, and not only the laws in books, but also having them being enforced to ensure that we have the needed results.
So since we don't have the laws, is this case a done deal?
Well, because there's no law that makes it, an offense at the moment. So, and in fact, all governments are guilty of this particular, conduct. So until we really have a law in place making it not acceptable practice, it's done by previous government and it's done by the current government, and it's going to be done by, forthcoming governments as well, until we have a law in place.
Okay. Daniel Yao Demilovo, people are calling on Sraj to intervene in the conflict of interest. Do you think it's something that the Sraj should be worried about? And then, of course, someone should petition Sraj. Is this something that Sraj should be interested in?
In my considered opinion, it would be a waste of Sraj's time.
Precisely.
Nothing will come out of it.
Yeah.
Let me tell you that under the same chapter of the Constitution, if you move from Article 284, you come to 286, which talks about assets and liabilities declaration. And the Constitution provides that they must declare assets before assuming office. When even the Chief Justice and the Supreme Court judges, they don't declare their assets, and they go and sit over there. When the issue went to Sraj, what did Sraj do? Sraj says there's no law which defines the penalty or the punishment which is supposed to be given to them. Okay. So all that Sraj will tell you is that go and sin no more. And that is all. So it will be waste of our time. We need to put this in black and white. It is in law to say you can't do this, you do it, these are the consequences. That's what I believe in. Thank you. All
right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining. Daniel Yao Demilovo is the former Auditor General of this country, and also Dr. Yidana is a law lecturer at the School of Law, SOAS University in London. That's how we wrap on that particular conversation. But away from that, the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Titus Glover, has led a team from the RECSEG and Forestry Commission to demolish structures built on lands in the Dodowa Forest. This follows a decision by the Greater Accra RECSEG to swoop in on the forest to reclaim all illegally sold land. According to him, the Dodowa and Katamanso forests are security zones, and they are going to do everything possible to protect these forests. He's been addressing the media at the demolition site.
Thereafter, we declared the Dodowa forests and Katamanso Pinpoint forests as security zones. These are two landmark forests in Gadangbe history. So we are here to regain our forest back. With the support of the Forestry Commission, they have given us some trees that we are coming to plant. Then with the support of the DCE and some students around NNMA to do the planting. This wall is on our land, we'll break it. Oh, yeah. Thank you. I have got documents from the Regional House of Chiefs that states that this land is for the Shai people. who does. But we told them, if you have documents, bring it to the RCC. As we speak, nobody has brought us any document apart from what the registrar brought to us from the Regional House of Chiefs. So we are here to do two things. We'll break this wall and plant the trees back. This place is a security zone. We are regaining our forest back.
From that, this afternoon, the lives of children with hemophilia are in danger due to a 3-month delay in the delivery of blood clotting components at the Komfo Teaching Hospital. Parents of these children say the delay is caused by the Food and Drugs Authority's failure to release necessary documents for the importation of the donor-sponsored medication. Concerned mothers warn that further delays could result in fatalities among children with the condition. More details in the following report.
Hemophilia is a rare disorder in which blood does not clot in a typical way, as a patient could bleed for a longer time after an injury. Mothers of children living with hemophilia count it a blessing when their wards make it through the day unhurt. This is due to the absence of the blood component responsible for the clotting of blood at the Komfo Teaching Hospital, which serves people with the condition in the northern sector of the country. The concentrates of clotting factor 8 and clotting factor 9 are slowly dripped or injected into the veins of a patient to improve blood clots when injured. 6 years ago, Sandra Opoku's newly born baby died after circumcision due to the failure of the blood to clot. Presently, her toddler has a similar condition but has continued to live due to the medical support received. But as the shortage of concentrates linger, Sandra lives in constant fear and worry.
What
is making us very worried is that if you go to Komfo Teaching Hospital, a lot of our children are in pain after sustaining injuries. Some of them are unable to walk. Some children will have to undergo surgery, but because the clotting concentrate is not available, they can't undergo the surgery. For about 3 months, we don't have the medication. It is hard to watch on as they bleed.
Though the Hemlibra, which is one of the medications for the condition, is available, the factor 8 and 9 remain crucial. According to the Ghana Hemophilia Society, some children are bleeding profusely after being injured due to the absence of the essential medications. Irene Osei is a concerned mother.
The whole northern sector, we all come to converge at Komfo for the factor. So when there is delay like that, you can't come, because when you come, you won't get. So when something happens, the child has to bleed, so that if unfortunately something can happen. At times too, there are some other drugs that also help clot the blood. But the factor that we receive for the case normally helps a lot. Without the factor, a lot really happens. The children, some of them can't walk. Some of them will be bleeding through the nose and other orifice. Some of them, when their teeth fall out, they'll be bleeding, and it's so serious that as parents, we are very disturbed that you will just watch your child bleeding and you don't know what will happen.
The concerned mothers are blaming the FDA's failure to release a document to access the medication from donors. They are calling for an intervention of stakeholders to halt possible deaths that may result from the situation.
Fortunately, we don't buy these drugs. We have a donation from outside that they bring this factor, and we receive it through Ghana Hemophilia Society too. So we just come to Komfo and they give us those drugs. So frankly speaking, we don't buy those drugs. We don't have even some at the market for us to buy. The concern is that before we get the drugs, we have to take a letter from the Food and Drugs Authority so that we will take the drugs outside to the donors for them to release the drugs for us. But for now, close to about 3 months now, we've not received the letter to enable us to send it outside for us to receive those drugs.
For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima, Kumasi.
Still on health, the Kolegu dialysis unit has been closed for the past 13 days forcing patients in need of urgent care to seek treatment at expensive private facilities, while those unable to afford such care are left without options. Bafo Ahinkra is president of the Kidney Patient Association, and he informed Joy News that the closure is reportedly due to a shortage of consumables. He's urging hospital authorities to provide clear communication on when the facility will reopen. So he joins me in studio for a chat here. Grateful to you for joining. Yeah. Why are you making such a call that it's because of consumables? What do you know?
There's not been any official communication telling us what exactly the problem, why the unit has been closed, or the unit is not functioning. And exactly last year, the same thing happened, and we were told it's consumables. And we are in the same thing this year too. So we presume that, like it's a rumor that the consumables are not there because the machines are sitting down there. You go, you see nurses around, doctors around, but they are not working. So what is going on? And nobody has even invited us, tell us that maybe we are having this challenge or we are having this. That is why maybe the unit is not operating. Nobody is telling us 2 weeks. Sunday coming will be exactly 2 weeks.
So that happens, what do? You go to private?
You have to go to private facility, and it's very expensive. Even Kolebu, that, let me say, the government facility that is even cheaper, is 491 per session. You need to do 2 or 3 times a week. So that is the cheapest you get. The private ones are charging between 600, 680, 700, 900. Even some are even charging 1,000 per session. And so if you're supposed to do that twice or 2 times a week, where will you get the money from? And it's a big challenge. When it happens like that, people just stays in their house waiting for whatever will happen to them should happen to them, which is not good. Communicate with us. Tell us something. That we are having this challenge. So that is why the unit is on break or something of that sort. Nobody, it's like nobody cares about us.
Okay.
We are Ghanaians. We pay tax. The dialysis is not for free. We pay.
So what has been the impact, apart from finance? When you go to the private hospital, how much do you pay?
It depends on where you are going to. I mean, like I'm saying, the lowest you can get is about 600.
600. So what has been the impact, not finance, but when you take away finance, what has been the impact of this on your members?
No, health-wise, they are looking very weak. You need to clear the system, the toxin from your system to be a bit healthier. They are getting weak. You see some of them, their pot bellies are coming. They know that they have pot bellies, but because their system, the things in their system, they are getting pot belly. Their legs are being swollen, puffy faces. And sometimes this thing normally leads to death.
Wow, interesting. But you reach out to Kolebu and nobody is...
They are not even getting anybody to talk to you. We don't need to get to Kolebu. We don't need to go to anybody to go and ask what is happening. You people are managing the place. There is a problem. Just invite us. We are having this challenge. So that is why maybe we are shutting down for a number of these days or something so that we put things in place that you come back. Simple communicate. And nobody, whom will you get? When you go there, whom will you get to talk to?
No. So I mean, I'm asking this because for 2 weeks, you've not had the authorities to even tell you that it's ABCD, the reasons why we are shut down.
Nothing. If, by God willing, we are not dead, and we enter next week, we don't hear anything, we are going to pick it at the place. We'll carry our mattresses, everything, and go and sleep at the mosquitoes. We'll sleep there for them to see how serious the whole thing is. Tell us, yes.
Next week.
If by next week we don't hear anything from them, that this is the situation, we are human beings, we are not dumb. So maybe when you tell us, at least we should reason up with you. If we don't hear anything from them, by next week, we will start picketing at the place.
And when exactly next week?
We are giving them by close of next week, by Friday, by this time. If you
don't hear anything,
yes.
It means that Saturday you picket.
Saturday we cannot picket. We'll start from Monday or
do it the
Saturday.
following Monday.
We'll picket there. We'll go with our mattresses, go with everything that we need. We'll go and sleep there. We'll hear something or the unit is reopened. What is going on? People's lives are in danger. I can tell you that since the 2 weeks, I think about 2 or 3 people are dead.
Oh, how many?
2. I think two or 3.
Since last week?
Yes.
You can say that 2 or 3 people are dead?
Yes.
Because of that?
That one, I'm not a medical doctor,
So
so
you
I cannot get it. But the point is, I believe if the unit was running and we were having our regular dialysis session, maybe a doctor or a nurse could have seen something and advise. Because now we are on our own. Maybe unless you force yourself, you go and see a doctor. Because like almost every day, you're supposed to visit the unit 2 times. So you definitely see a doctor or somebody there to assist you or something. I mean, why?
Wow. This is quite serious for you people. But you were on a board that was dealing with the financing issue about, so there could be some relief for you. What has happened to it?
Yes, we agreed on some of formalities or something to go by, because the government said it wanted to do something for us 6 months, and starting from June to December.
Yes.
So we sat down, we did the actuals, and we came to a conclusion that those above 60 will get all their A-session fees. Children below 18 will get their A-session fees. We in the middle will be getting 2 sessions per a month. That is, out of the 8, we get 2.
Yeah.
So that was
paid for you by government.
Paid for us by government.
Okay.
That was what we agreed. But Kolebu, since we started from June, it was just last 2 weeks they started. So from June, the insertion of the program, Kolebu have not done it.
You were paying.
We were paying.
You were paying.
But we were made to understand that there will be refund for us. But I don't know anybody who has gone for refund who has got it. But for now, Kolebu said they've started. But starting it, the unit is not working. So when you are going out, you go and pay because they don't know anything about national health insurance. If it is Kolebu, maybe you can enjoy that program. But now Kolebu is not working for 2 weeks. So as they've started, we don't know what is happening.
So did anybody benefit before the shutdown came?
Yes, I think the old age.
They did.
They had, I think, 2 or 3 days sessions before the thing went shut down.
Okay, this is quite serious. And you've been on a board that was helping government to arrive at a conclusion to do that. Imagine you were on a board and the president was part around that table, and you had to let the president understand your issues. What would you tell him now? Imagine the president is sitting around the table with you now, and he's listening to you. You look into his eyes and address him.
My brother, the only thing I'll tell the president, no one can sustain dialysis treatment.
So I want you to look into the camera as though the president is watching you in the face and tell him.
Mr. President, no one can sustain dialysis treatment or fund it. So it's high time the government look at it critically if they will take fully cost of it so that they can put on the national health insurance fully. So at least those living on end-stage kidney failure can also have some respite in life. Because even if whatever money that you have, once you go on dialysis and you don't go for transplant, your money will get finished. And sometimes the money will get finished whilst you are still alive and you'll be struggling. So we beg them, they should look at it critically, holistically, because on the board, we had certain things in place, but for now, I think everything's on hold. I think we are getting election year, so maybe when we come back, whoever comes back, we'll take it up from there. It will be very good for us. And then they should take the taxes off the consumables so that the private sectors can also let their prices come down a little bit for us. If the taxes are waived off the consumables, those in the private sector can bring their prices down, which it can be a little bit affordable to us.
So
that's what I would like to tell you. Yeah, the taxes
should be off.
Should be off on the consumables. Or medical appliances, they should take the taxes off. Because just BP medication, that's a time BP medication, they will tell you it's because of the dollar. We are buying BP medication. We used to buy it like 5 cedis, 6 cedis. Now you go, it's 20 cedis. Not even a strip, or maybe just a strip. Maybe you need 1 box for a month. So you can just imagine. Everything keep going now. So apart from the dialysis itself, you are buying your BP medication. We have an injection that we take, erythropoietin. We call it EPO. We are paying for that one too. We are supposed to be on special diet. It's not anything that you can eat. That one too is another money. Wherever you are staying, coming to Kolebu, transportation, sometimes you cannot join Trotro. When you finish, you are so weak, you are tired. You need to get maybe a comfortable car sitting in and go home. You need boat or Uber. Expensive. So everything around it is very expensive. So government should look at it once again. We beg them. It can happen to anybody. We have big men who are on dialysis. You can't mention names. We know them. They know us. If they speak and then big men will hear, they should speak to them and they should look at it. I believe we can do it. I have a strong belief the government can do it. As they're able to do the free SHS, they can do it. So they should look at it for us.
Zayinkra, all the best to you and your other members. This was quite a troubling time for, kidney patient. But our hearts are with you wherever you will be. This is still The Pulse. We'll take a quick break here. We'll be back with more. Please don't go away. Welcome back from the break. Now, the Accra-Achimota Highway, once a reliable route for thousands of commuters, is now a hazard zone riddled with gaping potholes. Drivers find themselves in a constant battle to avoid these dangerous potholes, resulting in chaotic traffic and sometimes resulting in accidents. What was once a smooth and efficient journey has turned into a daily ordeal. My colleague Jacqueline Ansuma has more in this report.
Oops. It just fell into the gutter. The Achimota-Accra Highway Road is a crucial road for daily commuters. Yet, there has been some significant potholes, I must say, not even potholes anymore, but gutters that drivers now have to apply a swerving course just to make sure that at the end of the day, your cars are not damaged by these gaping potholes.
It's too bad because you make this at a close range that you cannot slow down. When you slow down, there will be a coming vehicle behind you. If you don't take time, it will run into you. So it's so dangerous. We are not happy, so we are calling upon the authorities to do something about it. I mean, you feel it because the holes are more than the normal holes. It's deep, so it creates a so I mean, you don't enjoy driving in it, and you are damaging the car as well. Especially when you fall in it, all of a sudden, it's too bad.
Just I don't know how many minutes it will take to repair this thing, and sometimes I see being put in some second coats on some areas like East Legon.
Our shocks and stuff, it's not good at all. Serious, it's not good. Yeah.
How many times you go to the shop as a result of these potholes?
Almost like 2 times in a month or something like that. Yeah.
It's not good at all, especially when it rains. There are water all around. By the time you get home, your bike is dirty and all that. And I nearly knocked a certain car here when I was trying to dodge one of the potholes, and it wasn't good. I've been using it all the time, so I can see a lot. It's not good. You can see these type of holes are not supposed to be used as at these places, especially. So to me, it should be repaired instantly.
We're still on the Achimota-Accra Highway, just a few minutes away from where my colleague Jacqueline was just reporting on the potholes in the road. Once again, you can see that the potholes are very ginormous, and cars have to choose between either swerving to avoid them or potentially damaging their car by slowing down.
What we just heard from concerned drivers and motorists on the Accra-Achimota Highway on how these potholes has been affecting their daily livelihoods, and most of the time some of them would have to go to the vulcanizer shop maybe twice in a week, some 3 times in a week. Well, they're calling on government to come to their aid to help fix these potholes that you just see right behind me. Reporting for Joy News, I am Jacqueline Ansuma Yeboah.
Well, this year's International Youth Day falls on Monday, August 12th, and Joy News' Just Turned 18 program, in partnership with Star Ghana Foundation, is putting the spotlight on the critical role of the youth in shaping Ghana's democratic process and their personal development. On Monday, the Just Turned 18 team heads Joko Florida for a live engagement with the participants, who are largely first-time voters, on key issues that will influence their vote come December 7. There will be resource persons from the NCC and Electoral Commission, as well as the police and political parties, who will provide guidance to the youth on how to constructively and actively participate in the electioneering period. And now let's do more by bringing in Dr. Ernestina Koleki Tete, who's Project Manager, Star Ghana Foundation. Grateful to you for joining. Now, what's the relevance of the Just Turned 18 show on Monday, the day for marking International Youth Day? Doc, kindly unmute so we can hear what you're telling us.
Thank you and good afternoon for having me. And thank you so much for pronouncing my name so well.
Welcome.
Anyway, so as you rightly said, Monday, 12th August is International Youth Day. The contribution of young people or young persons to the sustainable development and to achieving the sustainable development goals worldwide cannot be overemphasized. And it's even more so for us in Ghana, that has been described to have a very young age structure or a youthful population, where over 57%, according to the last 2021 Population and Housing Census data, are 25 years and below. And this is of much importance to us, that we cannot take for granted the contribution of this mass population towards our own development and then our attaining the sustainable development goals we set for ourselves. We cannot take it for granted. So on a day as important as that, we see bringing together young people, young voters, people who are voting for the first time, who will fall within the age category that I have talked about, as critical to our own national discourse. One thing we have noticed in Koforidua as we started, Star Ghana has been partnering the young people in the New Dublin South municipality for the last 1.5 hours to increase their participation in governance, decision-making, particularly decisions that of issues that concerns them. In the 1.5 years that we have been with them, aside the lack of trust for authority, lack of trust for duty bearers, lack of trust for the whole system, they are also really shying away from politics. I mean, we seem to find this very negative connotation that they have around politics. And their peers tell them that anytime they invite them to any of the programs and mention governance, they just say, no, I don't want to be involved in politics. And this is not good for our body politic. This is not good for development. So on a day like this, where the contribution of young people to sustainable development is being magnified, we find it useful. We find this partnership with Joy TV and multimedia very useful to some extent erase this negative connotation these young people have, highlight their own significance and their importance to sustainable development, and to let them know that their voices matter in things like elections, electing who leads them, electing who promotes their agenda, electing who promotes or champions their group is really important, and they can't shy away from that. So that is how significant marking a special day like that with a special event like that is for us. Yeah.
Okay. Now, as you mentioned, your organization has done some work regarding issues of concern to the youth in that area, and you've been sharing with us what you've found. But is that the only thing you gathered from your baseline study, that people are no longer interested in politics?
Yeah. That is not the only thing, and I want to believe that what we found is not really, it's not peculiar to the young people of New Dublin South municipality. Indeed, the issue of youth unemployment is a big deal. So the project, so let me say, our project with the Koforidua or New Dublin South municipality is to increase youth participation in governance so they can have access to quality social services, health, education, employment, livelihood opportunities, and social protection. So once we went into the community, it was pretty difficult to get to avert their minds to the issue of political participation. The first thing that jumps at you is we need jobs. The first thing that jumps at you is we need livelihood opportunities. We need, so we had to, it took some doing, a lot of work to bring their attention to the fact that if you need these things, you have to be at the table. you have to be part of decision making, because we can't hand them over to you all the time. So that's been the practice, like interventions, that livelihood opportunity skills and all of that. And they don't really go far because the enabling environment that they need to thrive in is almost non-existent for them, according to them. And that is where we draw their attention to. You have to be at the decision-making table. You have to be interested in decision-making. You have to be interested in who is championing your cause. Once you have your seat at the table, then you are able to contribute to how you access all of these things that you are looking for. So big on their agenda, or the biggest finding for us was the loss or lack of job opportunities, or the increasing youth unemployment, which, as I said, I'm not sure is peculiar to the New Dragon South municipality. They also mentioned the issue of governance, which I've already mentioned, that they don't trust that their leaders have their interests at heart, and they are only being used when they are needed and then dumped when they are no longer needed. We asked about access to healthcare, access to literacy skills, and tech and digital skills, and they mentioned that they are really low. Really, they are really, really low. Although Koforidua hosts two important universities, the KTU and the All Nations University, you'll be surprised to know how many or what percentage of young people have access to or have digital skills and are able to even put it to use. So those were the big issues: unemployment, access to social services, access to opportunities to use what they learn or what they study into use for their own benefit, and the fact that they don't have, and then information. They also bemoaned the lack of information, so they don't know where to find information, they don't know who to talk to, they don't know what information is available, and they think that the road to participating in governance is almost blocked to them. And this is something that we are working with them on.
Quite an interesting verdict, especially when they feel that leaders will use and dump them. That's something that the leaders today should be worried about and find ways that we could all work together to get youth to erase that, because actually they want to see actions where youth, the leaders, care for them. It's because we don't see that. That's why the youth are drawing this conclusion. But what are the expected outcomes from the dialogue, and how do you expect them to contribute to youth development in the country?
Yeah, so the expected outcomes of this dialogue is an increasing awareness of the importance of the voices of young people like themselves who will be in the room. So whilst it's very difficult to measure attitude change or the change in beliefs, we are expecting that, based on what we have done with them so far, our engagement with them so far, and this opportunity to engage with the NCCE, the EC, and the security service in a non-partisan way, the awareness of their own contribution and the importance of their voice in the upcoming election and beyond will be increased. So increased awareness of their own role in governance, and then through their civic exercising their civic responsibility of choosing a leader to lead the nation. That's the first thing. The second thing is also to increase the interest. Again, it's very difficult to measure, but it will be the small steps that we take towards increasing their interest in participating in governance at all levels. So not just a big one, but even community level, in their schools, in their community, the electoral areas, engaging the assembly members, having an interest to even participate or contest in the next assembly election that will be in the next 3 years, but then trying to build that interest from now. So we are hoping that this just turned 18 or young people who have never voted before, for many reasons, including they can't be bothered, will have a mind change. So we are hoping to convert them from I don't want to be a part of politics to I really want to know what is going on and who is going to be. Yeah, exactly.
You have a huge job on your hands then, and I pray that
we do. It's exciting as it is huge, but we will get there.
Sure. So I get it. But who else aside the youth can also take part of this, take advantage of this particular dialogue to then take advantage of the opportunities that it presents?
So this meeting on Monday is strictly for the youth, and not just every youth, but the just turned 18 who haven't voted before. So if you turned 18 in 2021, 2022, up until this time, and you haven't voted before, they are the target. So it's a very specific target we are looking for. But I also believe that through the various channels and avenues that have been provided by multimedia, the social media platform, our own social media platforms at Star Ghana, and the partners that we work with, and I have to acknowledge the young people we work with in the New Drabin South municipality. We work with the New Drabin South Municipality Youth Parliament, the Achinto Foundation for Education and Self-Help, the Divine Mother and Child organization that focuses on young people, and then a young association group called Bibia Bear Fine. So they are the anchor groups that we work with, and they are mobilizing young people for this event. So using the platforms that are being created by multimedia, Star Ghana, and our young people, we are hoping to reach other people who wouldn't be in the room and who may not necessarily be within the just 10-18 category to listen, to join in and listen to what we have to say and take advantage of what we have to say. We are hoping that older people or people who that fall out of the category may reach out to a young person after engaging online to let them know that you have a voice, and even though you were not at Ascension Hall, you have a responsibility to exercise your civic duty and actively be a part of the upcoming elections and vote and contribute to the development of the nation. So
so remind us again, where specifically in Koforidua will this be happening?
So at the Ascension Presby Hall in Koforidua. So it was taking place at the Ascension Presby Hall at 3 p.m. from 3 p.m. to 4:30, and it's live on Joy TV and all our social media platforms. I want to, before I go, say a big thank you to Botner Foundation. It's a Swiss foundation that is funding Star Ghana or partnering with Star Ghana to work with the young people in Koforidua to increase their participation in governance, and to say thank you to Star Ghana for allowing us to do this with our young people in Koforidua, and to the New Drabin South Municipal Assembly for their cooperation and their support thus far. They've been amazing, and their commitment towards the youth is incredible. The youth didn't know this until we started. When we started, they said the municipality couldn't care. But now they know that the municipality more than cares, so we are grateful. Thank you.
Doc, I'm grateful to you for joining us. Dr. Ernestina Koleki-Tete is the project manager of Star Ghana Foundation. This is still the pulse on the Joy News channel. Now, away from that, beneficiaries of Youth Employment Agency Sanitation Model employed by Zoomlion Limited are demanding payment of 16 months worth of salary arrears. The affected workers, including female sweepers and cleaners, expressed frustration of the unpaid wages, noting that the delay is severely impacting their livelihoods amidst the current economic challenges. There is more in the following report.
The cleaners, adorned in their blue and orange uniforms in red armbands and headgears, took to the streets of the business district of Kumasi to vent their displeasure at their employer. For close to a year and a half, these workers, mostly women, have had to endure working without being paid their due salary of 250 cedis every month. The aggrieved workers have threatened to boycott their services if the government fails to pay the outstanding amounts. You have not paid 1 year, 4 months arrears. You have only paid 4 months. We demand payments for all our arrears. We wake up at dawn at the peril of our lives. These workers sweep streets, market centers, and the central business districts of Kumasi both day and night. Lab News understands a number of these workers have over the past year withdrawn their services over the non-payments. They are questioning why their meager salaries are delayed despite working diligently for them. 2.5, you know, what to make How much is this money that you cannot pay us? Every month you receive your salaries, but we must suffer. We have families to take care of. Ashanti Regional YEA Coordinator Seth Chumesi in an event said discussions are ongoing to settle the arrears.
We are unable to give such testimonies about the sanitation model of the agency for obvious reasons. We have all our beneficiaries here. These beneficiaries are paid directly from the coffers of the Youth Employment Agency. The sanitation model beneficiaries are not here. Though we recruited them, we don't pay them directly. And ladies and gentlemen, in the coming days, with approval from the board of the agency, management will announce drastic measures never seen in the history of the sanitation model since the introduction of the Youth Employment Agency in 2006 by former President Kufuor. Drastic measures and roadmap to eternally resolve the issues.
For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Quickly.
A group of teacher trainees in the Ashanti region is calling for a temporary closure of the 46 colleges of education across the country due to the ongoing strike by their teachers. The Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAG, began a strike in response to a dispute with the government over the implementation of arbitral award orders. The trainees have expressed concerns that the strike is affecting the academic progress and well-being. A report by Barry McCoffey Dawson provides more details on the situation.
Rooms in all the 46 colleges of education across the country remain empty. The Colleges of Education Teachers Association has since June 14 embarked on an industrial action seeking the government's implementation of outstanding compulsory arbitration awards. The 8-week-old strike has stalled academic progress and adversely affected students. The teacher trainees who are bearing the brunt of the impasse are left stranded. The Coalition of Concerned Teacher Trainees says the strike has left the students stranded and affecting their mental well-being. Opokudia Manuel is the convener of the group.
As a result of this strike action, we teacher trainees and teaching staffs of colleges of education are facing with an unprecedented crisis and misgivings. Our educational journey as trainees is at a standstill, and future of teachers' education and Ghana's development is at risk. The ongoing strike has left teacher trainees of the 46 colleges of education in chaos, stranded and uncertain about our future. Without our tutors, access to relevant course outlines and materials to even attempt self-study has become extremely difficult. The financial burden is affecting our mental health and well-being. We urgently call on the government, stakeholders and well-meaning Ghanaians to help resolve this impasse.
The group is demanding a temporary shutdown of their schools until an urgent resolution is reached.
If government cannot resolve this issue immediately, we demand that the colleges of education should be closed and students be allowed to return home, since it has been more than 21 days without students engaging with their tutors.
The students are also worried over the non-payment of 6 months trainee allowances, which support their cost of living.
What I have right now is our student allowances. Last semester, that was level 300 semester, they were supposed to give us a 4 months allowances, which is almost 1,600 cedis. But as we speak right now, they have made payments of 400 cedis to our various accounts. So we are calling upon Dr. Baud Maumia to also attend to us, so that in this time of hardship, we can also at least get something to eat.
So we hope this message goes far. Barry McCoffey Dawson, Ashanti Region, for Joy News.
We'll see how this particular matter goes, but we'll still be keeping an eye on whether or not these schools will be closed down, and then we'll be updating you. But Razak Swale is president of the Teacher Trainees Association of Ghana. He joins us via Zoom. Also, Professor Samuel Atintono is the National President of PRINCOF, and Larry K. Agbado is editor, Teacher Education Journal. Let me start with you. You know, my friend who is the president of the student there, Razak Swale. So these are your colleagues who are calling for the closure of schools. What's your response?
We have written to President of Principals of Colleges of Education, Professor Atintono Samuel, request for the same shutdown or temporary close down of the Colleges of Education for some reason, because the strike action has entered into the 55th day right now. We are in day 55, and students are still in the Colleges of Education, left unattended to. And as we speak now, we really can't tell when the exactly CETA will be calling off the strike. Students have been left to their own fate, more specifically level 400 students, and all year group with no academic activity ongoing. You are aware colleges were supposed to resume academic activities on the 9th of June. That just came to face this CETA strike on the 14th, leaving students stranded with no even reading materials. We fear the academic calendar cannot also be maintained because where we have reached with the strike has entered almost 2 months now. 2 months are almost off. And from now to the time that the colleges will be going down on September 7th, we have barely a month left. If we want to recover all the lost contact hours using only the amount of time that is left, it will be difficult, extremely difficult to do. And should it be an extension that we extend the the semester so that we can be able to cover up? That leaves the student to a more disadvantaged situation, because we as students have been in the colleges on the 9th of June to this very time. And then there is no academic activities ongoing. It is not fault of the student that this strike has come to hit at this time. And the students should not be allowed to feel the pain, should not be allowed to go through all the challenges and no sanctity of CETA strike being called off.
Okay. And how do you intend to make up for the lost days?
Yes, our engagements with stakeholders that are directly involved in resolving the strike action and also ensuring that the colleges are back in session indicates that there is an attempt that we would use weekends and use extra time in order for us to be able to recover the lost contact hours that were lost. But like I said, we fear, because where we have reached, we have barely a month left to stay in college. And the work we were about to do is supposed to cover for a number of periods. For 2 months have already been gone, left with barely a month. Using a month to recover 2 months within this space will be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to do.
Okay.
So we fear that if there is even an extension, let's say 2 weeks to come and add, or any amount of weeks that will be adding, that will leave the student to a more disadvantaged situation, because the students have been in school since 9th of June to 7th September, and an extension coming in would mean that the student will have to bear all the harsh conditions of living in order to be able to make up. We fear this is not right to the student, because the student is not the one who has asked for CETA to be on strike. The student is not the one who has caused all these situations happening in the college space. So it is important that if there is a way, the student will also be asked to vacate the campuses, so that when the strike is resolved, when the solutions of CETA are being met, the student will be called back to the college for him to be...
Let me bring in Professor Samuel Atintono. Prof, you manage the colleges. Your students say it's time that the colleges are closed down because of the strike, the number of days that the strike has taken. Your response?
Good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to our cherished listeners, and to my students and the staff. It is unfortunate that up to this point we still haven't had a situation resolved or the issue resolved. So as principal and my colleagues across the 46 colleges of education, we're all worried about it. I recall that about a week or 2 weeks ago, we have had some engagement with CITAC, and we reached some kind of agreement, and it was our view that with what we reached, by now the tutors would have been back and then teaching going on. Unfortunately, I think they went back and said they consulted their council and they didn't agree. And we've been having some engagement even after that. They are still not yet back. But the good news I think I have is they embarked on this strike based on certain things that I've asked that they wanted.
Yeah.
One of them being the book and research top-up that they were not paid last year, which has now been paid across the colleges. I can confirm that from yesterday and today, the tutors have been paid. So that's one of them. The biggest problem on the table is about parity of payment, and particularly the migration. That started on July 29th. We've informed CITA. They were having mistrust that government would always say they'll do, they won't do. And as principals, we have been part of it and to ensure that it is done. Since 29th, they meet at GTech every day. And this is how it is done. The universities there are 5 universities that they are going to be migrated along. They started with the University of Cape Coast, which is now complete by today. I would only advise or appeal to CITAC. They ought to be at the place to check for themselves to be certified that this has been done and then get back, because we're all worried. As the students are around and they are not being taught, no principal is happy. And of course, I've listened to their letter that they said they have written to me. I just got back to office and had it. Okay. I will study it. We'll engage with the government to see what will be the way forward.
But if you say they've begun, that sort of transfer, and that UCC, they've completed that of UCC, they are worried about their colleges of education. Is there any college that has really had this complete transfer?
I am saying that it's a process of migrating the tutors onto the university salary scheme.
Yeah.
And they take them based on the university that you are affiliated to. They started with the University of Cape Coast. Those teachers, colleges that are affiliated to University of Cape Coast. Okay. So the staff of the colleges, that one is completed. So that means that they are continuing with the others. They are not stopping. Recall I said 4 weeks that we need to do this exercise. So my happiness is that CITAC is saying nothing has been done. Something has been done and they are working on it. Everybody is concerned about the situation.
Okay. So the reason I asked the question was because they can check from the colleges that are affiliated to the University of Cape Coast to find out whether or not it is true that they have finished a migration. That would probably inform their decision as to whether they return or not.
I get it well. They are at GTech. Okay. So if you want to check, they have to go to the committee. It is Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, GTech, Minister of Finance, Minister of Education. It's a team that is working. It's a technical team. So it is not something that when I say they have completed that, it means that they have to share the results with the college. They can't get that one. No.
Okay.
What CITAC needs to do is to validate by going to GTech to see its work going on, because all that I hear is they are saying, they are telling lies, nothing is being done. And I'm saying something has been done. The team is working. They take one affiliate university staff or colleges at a time. So per the arrangement, CITAC, PRINCOF, and SENSAC are to meet this team for briefing. Okay. Now I'm sure, I think I spoke to them today. Next week, Monday, we hope to avail ourselves to be, they will present a report to us on what they have done.
Okay, all right. But you won't honor the call by the students that the colleges should be closed down, right?
I think, as I said, I sympathize with them, but I can't take a decision. I have to work with GTech and that of Minister of Education. So their letter came in this afternoon. As I said, I'm even yet to read it fully, but this should be rest assured. When we meet, if there's a way out, we definitely will do that.
Okay. Let me bring in Larry Keabado. He is editor, Teacher Education Journal. So, Larry, you followed this development. Now, the Professor Tintono is telling us that the migration that they were talking about is being done. What are your sources within CITAC telling you?
All right, thank you very much, Ami. So, as Prof rightly said, we've observed that the migration processes have started for some weeks now. But if you interact with the CTAG members, they seem not to have any level of trust in the process going on so far. As you heard Prof say, their rep or CTAG leadership itself have not been in attendance in some of these migration meetings. At a point, they requested for a report, of which I think it has not been given to them yet, because the team also feels that that is not meant to be given to them at this level yet. So there's some level of mistrust on the part of CTAG. They actually don't trust the system. And you see, this whole issue has escalated to the point that the National Council of CTAG is, they look like a group that is really bent on going far with this. And it's quite unfortunate that we have to sit to allow this to get to this level. We are already in the 8th week. The students were supposed to, or the colleges were supposed to go down in the first week ending of September, on the 7th of September. So if we have already done 2 months of nothing, I don't know how they are going to adjust to use just 1 month ahead to clear a whole semester, So it's quite unfortunate that our teacher education institutions have gotten to this level where the students are now also demanding that the colleges be closed down. But the situation on the ground, on the part of the tutors, in fact, it doesn't look too good for now if you interact with them.
Okay. But what if it's about trust and that they do not trust the process, what do they want to see before they can have trust in what's happening?
I think with what they want to see is the first one, Prof mentioned a while ago, that they've made one of the payments so far, which is the BRA, the Book and Research Allowance, which started payments yesterday. I met Prof personally yesterday, and he showed some evidences to that. The bigger one has to do with the migration, and then some areas that they also are requesting for. As Prof is saying that they are asking them to come to the table or meet next week, I hope sincerely that they're able to come on board for such a meeting, because that is one thing that they are not also showing up for these days, because they feel that they've spoken over this severally, they've held several meetings on this in the past year, and they didn't see any results. So it's gotten to that point where sometimes when they even invite them for meeting, they feel very cold attending such meetings. They prefer to even send reps who will not take key decisions at those meetings, but come back and report before they also look into it. So it's gotten to that point where it's quite a critical one now.
Interesting. Prof. Atintono, so how do we address the issue of mistrust on the part of CTAG? Because if they trust the process, all of this will end.
All right. Thank you very much. I think the only way to address it is the evidence. And as I said, the mistrust they had was when we said the book and research allowances have been processed, they said they don't trust it. They were only saying it. Now it is hitting their accounts. 2, they are saying migration has not started. And I said I have evidence. Initially, I think what Larry said, they are member when they said it shouldn't come. It wasn't the case. We had agreed that we should allow the technical committee to work up to some point. Then they should give us a report. They have done that, and next week, I think we should meet them. For me, it is evidence. I'm appealing to CTAG. Do not just say they are doing this, they are doing that. They send all kinds of information which are not actually true. For instance, I think today, I was chatting with one of them, and the issue was, okay, they are doing the migration, but they are not giving them the titles, assistant lecturer, associate prof. And I said, that's not the issue. They went on this migration thing saying that we want parity in pay, in payment, that's salaries of condition of service. What it meant is that even if you are a tutor here and you are having qualifications as an MPhil degree, that's a research master's, and you are in the university, they will be paying you some allowances, and that must be extended to you. And that's exactly what they are doing with the migration. With respect to the name lecturer, senior lecturer, they have their own harmonized documents here which says you're a tutor and that senior principal tutor, chief tutor. For me, what matters most is the payment. So I would urge them for the trust, let them come and be convinced. Let the team that's working on this, they will show them the data.
Okay.
They were requested that the data to be sent to them. Bear in mind, these are personal information. People's salaries, not only you. So you cannot send this data, and it's not done anywhere. Fair Wages and Salaries Commission have never sent anybody's data that they have compiled immigration to. The only way is, please, they should come to GTEC and abreast themselves with what has been done. I think that way it can allay their fears that nothing has been done. A lot has been done, and they need to see it.
Did the teacher you spoke to confirm that he's received payment?
Well, I can, but my tutors are here. I can speak for my tutors in Africa College that they have received. Indeed, I'm one of them myself. So I've seen it, and I've had information from my colleagues in other colleges. Offensive colleagues. I can talk for a number of them. They have been paid.
Okay.
I remember there's one college. I think a few of them. Fosu is one of them. We were technical issues. The money didn't go through, but today we're working to resolve that.
Okay.
And that has been done.
Okay. Larry, I don't know whether you have confirmation that some of them have confirmed to you that they've received the payment.
Not yet.
Okay.
But I think one other issue that they are also very particular about is their July salary. You know, in the earlier meeting that was held between the parties, they had resolved that they will work on their July salary by a certain date. And I think CTAG in a way also didn't fulfill this part of that document.
But they agreed to forfeit that salary for what they were demanding.
Oh no, not that they agreed to forfeit it or they were demanding, but at the point where government intervened through the Minister of Education, Prof. Atin Tonu, and then the Fair Wages and the other stakeholders, they kind of reached an agreement that if they should call off the strike by a certain date and return to the lecture block, then within the time frame, they were going to work on that July salary and pay them back.
But they didn't.
That action or that step government also took by freezing the July salary also went hard on them actually.
Okay.
And
anyway,
didn't help matters in a way. Yeah.
Let me bring in Razak Swale because Razak, Prinkov is saying that they have to get in touch with GTEC before they can come to a conclusion on what to do next. I mean, it doesn't look likely that they may probably buy into your proposal now. What would you do? Razak Swale, if you can unmute for us, I'll be grateful. Razak, I want you to unmute so we can hear what you're telling us. Okay. All right. So this is where we are. I mean, Prinkov is calling on the CTAG to reconsider, what is happening. And they say that the migration is currently ongoing and that payment for their book and research allowance is also happening. Let's see how that goes in. But I'm grateful to you, gentlemen, for joining us. Now, Professor Tintono is the national president of Prinkov. He joined us. Larry Agbado is the editor-in-chief of the Teacher Trainees Journal. And also, Swale is the president of the Teacher Trainees Association of Ghana. This is the pause. We'll take a break here. I'll be back with more. Please do stay. Welcome back. His aspiration was to become a professional footballer, but the stand a mirage after suffering a shoulder injury. 24-year-old Stephen Achampon, unperturbed but resolved not to become a burden on his family after only completing his secondary education, is now making a living out of shoe washing in the Ashanti Regional Capital. Ashanti Regional Capital, Kumasi, Emmanuel Bright Kweku, caught up with the SHS graduate who is raking in profit from what some describe as, quote, basic home chore to escape Ghana's unemployment situation plaguing the youth.
With a basin of water, soap, and his brush, Stephen makes a livelihood out of a chore one would deem a personal task to keep clean, shoe washing. This has been his daily source of income after graduating with a high school certificate.
For one, I'm here, and I'm started sneaker washing, and I started 3 years.
I used to help someone sell sneakers. When the market became slow, I decided to focus on shoe washing as a business.
So, as an IFA, say you want to wear the outdoor. And I'm saying, make me the local business. Like, say, you be sharing the name or the banner, my day, Mahuamano. No, Miska.
Stephen Echampong, 24 years old, had dreams of becoming a professional footballer, but this was truncated after suffering a shoulder injury in 2017. In this vicissitude of life, he resolved not to succumb, but make the best out of his situation.
I used to play football when I completed school. I stopped after suffering a shoulder injury.
After COVID, I started right now,
I doubt I did be able to achieve my dreams.
As the eldest of 3 siblings, his mother was questioned for not allowing him focus on continuing his education to a higher level. People asked why I didn't allow him further his education. Because he was obsessed with football, I couldn't do anything about it. I'm glad at what he's doing now. Stephen now plies his trade along the cramped veranda of his mother's house at Bantama, a suburb of Kumasi. At his mini shoe shop, he sells these varieties of pre-owned sneakers and Crocs neatly cleaned. Social media has come in as a handy advertising tool for him. Each morning, Stephen finds himself hooked on TikTok to attract more customers while he inspires others.
There is one lady.
There was a lady who told me she was inspired by what I do and would love for me to help her establish one in Accra. I like how he washes my shoes.
Air Force, Jordan, different sneakers.
The Ghana Statistical Service reports about 1.9 million youth in Ghana are neither in school, employed, nor in training. With this unemployment situation walloping the youth in the country, Stephen is committed to his craft despite being belittled.
Some girls were teasing me initially, but I'm not perturbed. I know what I want to achieve. I plan on expanding the business.
Very big. Maybe our branches.
I didn't need you home.
He should be focused on what he loves. He should save the proceeds from it for the future. I may be willing to support him, but he must save some cash. With his gaze fixed on a happy ending, Stephen anticipates a better future from his trade while he inspires others to make enough from the little they have. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
Well, in the United Kingdom, far-right attacks and violent disorder continue across several cities. The unrest was triggered by last week's knife attack that killed 3 children in the town of Southport. Riots broke out around the country following false reports spread online by the origin, about the origin of the attacker. For more on this, let's bring in DW's correspondent Kate Ferguson. Kate, what's the situation like as we speak?
Tense. There have been some horrific attacks over the past few days, mainly across northern and central England. We've seen hotels housing asylum seekers being set on fire. Mosques have been attacked, as have individuals just going about their daily business. There was a particularly shocking incident caught on video in the city of Hull, where a mob of white men attacked a car, hurling missiles at it and using tools to prise open the door to get at the Eastern European occupants inside. Now, for African communities in the UK, for Muslims, this is an incredibly frightening time. These attackers seem to be targeting anyone who looks different from them. And perhaps it's no surprise that some countries, including Nigeria, have issued safety warnings to their citizens in the UK.
So let's look at what the authorities are doing. How are they responding?
Well, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has come out strongly. He's condemned the violence. He's called it far-right thuggery with no resemblance to any form of legitimate protest. He says those responsible will regret their actions. Now, in terms of concrete measures, specialist police officers have been deployed on the streets. Mosques are being given extra protection and hundreds of people have already been arrested, including some who are accused of spurring the violence online. Interestingly as well, a judge made the decision to waive the anonymity of the 17-year-old suspect accused of murdering those 3 children in Southport. He was contrary to the misinformation spread online. He was not an asylum seeker. He was in fact born in Britain to Rwandan parents and he has no known links to Islam.
And how big a problem is far-right violence across Europe?
It's a serious problem in both Germany and France. Far-right attacks are rising, and in both of those countries, it's not just immigrants or Muslims that are being targeted, but also politicians of a more liberal persuasion. At the same time, we've seen support for far-right-wing political parties rising, whether that's the Alternative for Germany here or the National Rally in France. And in fact, that potential link between political rhetoric and violence has come under scrutiny in Europe. In the UK, some of the rioters were heard chanting, "Stop the boats." Now, that is a slogan the previous Conservative government used to describe its policy of deporting asylum seekers to Rwanda. So overall, we can say right-wing sentiment is increasing across Europe. We saw that in the European elections earlier this year. And as this unrest shows, anger, which is often spurred by misinformation, can spill into violence very quickly.
Grateful to you, Kate Ferguson. She is a correspondent for DW there. And that's how we wrap up today's edition of The Pulse. There's more on myjoyonline.com, and on that portal it says Opheria Test Data Bank earned $9.2 million in Eurobonds, domestic bonds, in 3 years. Manasseh's book reveals, and Chief of Staff sent money to Parliament's Appointment Committee to facilitate approvals. Manasseh's book claims as well, and publish polling station results on your website before declaration of final results, IDEC to EC. Well, I'm grateful to you for your time wherever you watched us from Hunter all the way to Bolga and Navrongo. Grateful to you for watching. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace. Thanks for being a part of us this afternoon. On behalf of the team, I say gracias. We'll be together.